Hey everybody, welcome to Kiki Loves Nigeria. Hey, on this episode of Kiki Loves Nigeria, I'm gonna take you to, guess where? Nigeria. I'm gonna do a story, but it's not too much of a happy story, but it's a story about Nigeria. And this story was requested by one of my favorite people, Places and Spaces. She said this would be good for us to talk about, so we're going to talk about it. So like I said, this story takes place in Lagos, Nigeria. And this story is a modern day story of slavery. Yes, people, this is a story about slavery in 2023. And like I said, this takes place in Nigeria. Okay, people, let me introduce you to David. We're going to call him David. I don't know if that's his name, but that's what we're going to call him for this story because we're going to try to keep his identity a little private. All right. And I'm going to do that because I'm not sure how old this person is. Okay. Some people say he's 21. Some people say he's 15. The court, when they ruled on the case of a 21-year-old man, which was the birth date in his passport. So that's why I'm going to show his face, and I'm not going to use his real name. I'm just going to make up the name David. So David was a street hawker from Lagos, Nigeria. And for those who don't know what a street hawker is someone who walks in the street and sells you things. Yeah, in between all those cars and those people you see down there in between all of that, those are called street hawkers. And they sell you whatever you want. They got. So one day, David was working and he met somebody very important. And this person was a senator. He had been a senator in Nigeria for 19 years. He was a very, very powerful man. And everyone knew who he was, and everybody knew that this man had money and he had power. And so when David met this man, and this man wanted to befriend David, of course, he was excited. This man's name was Senator Ike Wermadu. Now, Mr. Senator Ike Wermadu was a very, very powerful man. Is a very, very powerful man in Nigeria. So, when he was approached, David was approached by this senator and his aides. He was truly excited because they offered him something he could not refuse. I'm not sure who went to David with the plan. I doubt if it was the senator. It was probably one of his aides. But they went to David and they said, David, we can offer you a better life in London. The senator can get you a passport, and the senator thinks very highly of you. And the senator would be honored if you would travel to London and live with his family and be a member, act like a member of his family. David could not believe his luck. He could not believe that this senator was going to get him a passport and pay his way to London and give him 7,000 euros. He just couldn't believe it. He just could not believe it. But you know what he did? You know he took him up on the offer. David took him up on the offer. he packed up everything he had. He got his passport and he was on his way to London. He was on his way to London to live with the senator's wife, and the senator's children. Yes, but there's something that they failed to tell David. And what they failed to tell David was that the real reason they needed him to go to London was that one of their children was very sick. One of their adult children was suffering from kidney disease, and she needed a kidney transplant desperately. According to the court record, that was the real reason that the senator wanted David to move to London. He wanted David to donate one of his kidneys to his daughter. Desperately in need of a kidney transplant. That was the real reason that David was rushed to London in such a big hurry, because he was going to be the transplant. But guess what, people? David had no clue. He had no clue that the senator was setting him up to have his kidney transplanted into his daughter. Yeah, David did not know. He did not know. He had no inkling until he went to the doctor's office. And that's when everything fell apart. So when David got to the doctor's asking him questions, because David is there doing his screening for his kidney transplant, right? So the doctor's asking him questions. First thing the doctor asks him is his age. David says, I'm 15. The doctor's like, 15. And the doctor's thinking, well, that's too young to do a kidney transplant. So that's the first thing that was problematic. Then the doctor goes on to ask him different questions about the kidney transplant. And David is looking bewildered. He has no clue what the doctor is talking about. So the doctor's paying attention to all of this, and then he goes on to ask David about his care after the transplant. And David is like, transplant? What transplant? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have medical insurance. I don't have any way to pay for any aftercare. And I'm not here for a transplant. I'm just here for a checkup. So, after that, the doctor writes all this down. He sends David back home, and he tells the parents that David is not a match, and David cannot be used for a transplant because of his age and because he knows nothing about the transplant, and also because he doesn't even have money or insurance for the aftercare after the transplant. So needless to say, the senator and his wife were furious when he came in that house and the doctor let them know that this person was not a match because, for one, of his age, two, he was not aware that he was even there for a transplant, and three, he had no means to care for himself after the transplant, because after a transplant you need lifelong medical care, and this young person had no way of making that happen, and he was denied for those reasons. The senator was furious. He and his wife were on fire. They said, David said, after that, when he came back that day, they began to treat him like a slave. He was no longer welcome in that household, and they treated him like he was nothing. That's when he said, as soon as he got the chance, he got out of that house. So for 2 days, David told the police he slept outside because he said he'd rather sleep outside than go back to that house. He said he was not safe in that house, and he's not even safe in Nigeria because he said the senator told him that if you don't do it here, I'm going to take you back to Nigeria and make you do it there. But one way or the other, you're going to do it. Wow. That's what David said the senator told him. And he said his wife was in on it also. He said his wife was just as guilty as the senator was. The police could not believe their ears. They could not believe what they were hearing. So the police, sitting in shock, knew they had to do something about this, because this is called human trafficking, people. You can't approach a poor person and offer them money for their organs so you can give them to your daughter so she can have a happy life because she happened to be born with more money than David. So that's basically what the court alleged happened. But, of course, the senator said, and his wife said, no, that's not what happened. David is lying. For one, he's not 15, he's 21. He's a grown man. Then they said that they gave David 7,000 euro for his kidney, and he agreed to go to London and have this operation for this 7,000 euro. That he agreed to sell the senator and his daughter and this doctor in this picture who helped arrange everything, his kidney, for $7,000. That's what the doctor and his wife freely told the court when they caught them at the airport on the way to Turkey, allegedly to pick up someone else who was willing to donate their organs. Because remember, David had ran away. So the senator and his wife and the doctor all thought they did nothing wrong. They all thought they did nothing wrong because they were acting to save their daughter's life, and they were willing to pay someone who was less fortunate than them. But what they don't realize is you can't do that. Like I said, people, you can't do that. And this was the first case that they had in the UK that was human trafficking in organs. Yes, organs. That's what they were charged with. Human trafficking in organs, which means they were selling body parts. So, these people went to court in the UK, and needless to say, they were found guilty. And all of them, all three of them, are serving almost 10 years in prison in the UK. As for David, he's applied for asylum in the UK because his lawyer says the senator is so very powerful in Nigeria that if this young person comes back to Nigeria, he will not live long. They are scared something will happen to him if he goes back. So, he won't be going back to Nigeria. He's filed for asylum in the UK. And as for the senator and his wife, they're sitting in prison. And again, they'll be sitting there for almost 10 years, both of them. So tell me, what do you think? What do you think really happened in this case? Was David 15 years old and had no clue what was going on? Or did David do what the senator and his wife said. The senator and his wife said David was lying all along, and he was lying because he wanted asylum in the UK, and he knew if he said he was a minor, and if he knew he said they had paid him to sell his organs, that he could stay in the UK. So they said he lied about everything. They said he agreed to do it, but when he got to the UK, he loved that life there, and he didn't want to leave. So that's why he flipped on them. So what do y'all think? Do y'all think they was all in on it or do you think that David is just a poor boy from Lagos, Nigeria that was taken advantage of by some rich people in Lagos, Nigeria? The Nigerians see it both ways. Some Nigerians believe that he was just a poor boy taken advantage of, and others feel like he agreed to do it, and when he got there, he flipped on them. Well, tell me what y'all think. But either way it goes, it was a case of human trafficking, and that's nothing more than slavery, people. That's a fancy word for slavery. All right, tell me what y'all think. Was this a case of human trafficking, of human slavery in the 2023? Or was it something else? Like the senator said. Was it a deal? Like the senator and his wife said. Tell me what y'all think. All right, good people. I will talk to y'all later.